I mean,
Mhm.
that's the toughest. Those are the toughest men and women on the planet, outside of UFC or whatever you want to say. But having to fight for our freedom, those are the toughest men and women out of everything. And the last, I think it was, yeah, the last Lightning game I went to was Military Appreciation Night, and they had, I would say, 30 or 35, kids that were enlisted in the Marine Corps. They took their
Mm.
oath on the. So I'm like,
Oh,
how
that's
cool is
cool.
that, man? How cool is that?
Very
But
cool. Uh,
like you said, we get to sit here and talk because of them. We get to get up every day and go to work, our jobs, because of them, because of their sacrifice for us. So yeah,
yeah.
that game next Saturday means more. It means a lot more to them, but to us that are sports fans and we get a chance to watch that game, it means a lot more. The game has more meaning than any other college football game. And a lot of people are gonna say, oh well, the national championship, great, because half those kids are gonna go on to the NFL and be millionaires. These kids, like you said, they're not going on to NFL careers. They start their life. As soon as that game is over, they're going to the military. They're going
Yeah.
overseas. They're going here. They're going there. They don't know where they're going. Some of them do. Some of them don't. And that's it. I mean, that's just the way it is. They signed up for that, and thank God, we have them. Thank
Hmm.
God we live in a country that we have all the freedom that we do. Um, and it's because of them. So yeah, I agree with you, but I think that game means a lot more than just a football game. It's more than a football.
It's as a non. It, the rivalry, the Army Navy rivalry, transcends sports. The best rivalry in college football is Auburn, Alabama. The Army Navy rivalry is so much more than just about football. It's to me it doesn't. It's like, and there's a line of demarcation between Army and Navy and the
Right.
other rivalries in sports, because at the end of the day, when Alabama and Auburn go home at the end of the night, whether they go, depending on who you're rooting for, whether you go home happy or sad, it was just another game, and there'll be
Right.
more games just like it. But when Army and Navy finish up every year, and they sing the alma mater, and they shuffle off the field and they clean out their lockers for the last time, there'll never be another Army Navy game like that one, because
Right.
when the Army officers go receive their assignment and the naval officers receive their assignment, whether it be on ship or over, whether it be on a ship or stateside at a naval base, their rivalry ends. When they're done playing, the Army Navy rivalry ends. When you're overseas and you need support, when you need fire support, when you're in the crap and you're relying on the man to your left and your right, you don't care where he's from. You don't care what he's done. You don't think about those things like, losing to Army in 2016 or losing to Navy in 2019 or whatever. Those things go out the window. And they're irrelevant.
Right.
And sitting here and Army, Alabama and Auburn will always be Auburn and Alabama. That rivalry will never end. It will never change. All the things that happen during the course of the year, leading up to the game, during the game, and after the game, for the fans of those teams will always be there. But for Army and Navy, Air Force, and when the games are over, and when you're an Army officer and you're calling on when you call for a fire mission, you need air support, that the best pilots in the world have your back, and they don't care about the fact that when there was a game going on, Army One or Air Force One or Navy One, those things are all out the window. All that stuff doesn't matter anymore because the real mission starts now.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's the difference. That's what separates those. That's why to me, I don't even consider it a rivalry game because it's so much more. It's so much more. It's so more important than any other rivalry game because of the connotations that surround that game. For 3 hours every year, Army Navy gets to forget about all the stuff that they have to do and just go play football.
That's true. Yeah, that's correct. They get to go have fun. They get to have fun.
They just get to go play a football game, man.
For 3 hours.
And then for the rest of their life and the rest of the year, they're in the Army.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
and playing for Army and playing for Navy and playing for Air Force is an incredible privilege because it means that you are one of the very few in this country that were both a good person, which a good enough person, a good enough student, and a good enough athlete to receive not only a scholarship but a commission in your selected branch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Well, I mean, to me, because they play every season, that's why I consider it the best rivalry in sports, or not in sports, but in college football. The Alabama-Auburn game, because they're in-state rivals, it makes it a lot of difference. And I know, being that we both, not sure in Tennessee, we both live in SEC country. That's one of the games that, SEC fans, I mean, outside of Alabama, I don't really care about Alabama-Auburn. But every year it's the Iron Bowl. We have the Egg Bowl down here between Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And, that's, I grew up here and, again, it makes me a biased person, but, the SEC, I think, is the best conference in college football. I could be wrong because very likely this year the Big Ten could win the national championship because right now, as it looks on paper, I don't know who's going to beat Ohio State. Possibly LSU might be the only team out there that could do it. Clemson might be able to do it. I don't know, if Utah, I'm pulling for the Utes, tomorrow night to beat Oregon. If they beat Oregon in the Pac-12, they have a shot, but are they going to beat Ohio State? I don't know. I don't know. And like you said earlier, if Wisconsin can, if they can either contain Dobbins or keep their quarterback in check, they have a shot. And if, Taylor can come out, and I saw him, week 1 of the season, if he can come out and play games like he's played like they played last week against Minnesota, they should have no issues with that game should be a lot closer than it was earlier in the season. Am I saying Wisconsin's going to win? No, but it should be a lot closer. And, everyone's saying a lot that LSU is going to blow out Georgia. I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think it's going to be. You can look at it on paper and say, yeah, LSU is going to blow them out of the water. I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be a lot closer. I know Georgia's been banged up. And, I would love to see Florida in there as a rematch against the Tigers. Just didn't happen that way this year. But, with the Gators, we're close. That's something that I can officially say. And I really, in this state, we have like a tripod of teams, and it goes around in a cycle. And Gators had their run. FSU's had their run. And we both thought it was going to be Miami. Well, Manny Diaz, as I was saying earlier in my show when I was going through all my rookie head coaches, he didn't have a very good first season in Miami. So it looks like the Hurricanes took a step back more than they took a step forward, especially losing to, FAU? I think they lost to FAU a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can't lose to it. And then, the funny thing about them is after the game, the FAU player said, we should be the University of Miami. We're actually in Miami. They're in Coral Gables. And that's true. The University of Miami is in Coral Gables, Florida. It's not in Miami, where FAU is actually in the city of Miami. So that makes a difference between, down there, and that's South Florida, which is kind of funny because a lot of people ask, well, how did USF get its name? Because we're not in South Florida. We're in Central Florida. I mean, Central Florida is like Orlando. We're in West Florida.
Right.
So I don't know how USF got their name, but they did. The university's been around since the 1950s. 56, I think, is when the university came into fruition. But, I mean, they've got a lot of building to do, and I'm looking forward to the Army-Navy game as I do every year. Every year I look forward to a football game. So, yeah.
Yeah, Miami was really – I thought Miami was going to regress this year.
Well, and, they played Florida right off the bat, and that game was closer to comfort for me, and I'm thinking, oh, great, this is how the Gators are going to play all season. Well, after the Kentucky game, I think we found out who Florida really was for the rest of the season outside of the loss to Georgia and LSU. So, yeah. But
losing to Georgia and LSU is not necessarily the end of the world.
No, not at all.
They're both great teams. Looking at Miami this year, they had an up and down year.
Yeah.
It was really weird. Really weird up and down year. Losing, they lose right off the bat to Florida. Okay, you think that's going to happen. Then you lose to UNC. Blowout Bethel Cook, but I think I could blow out Bethel Cook with a couple of my friends.
Bethune-Cookman. Yeah, they're in Northern Florida too. Yep.
Are they? I got you. Then they beat Central and lose to Tech, Central Michigan. Then lose to Tech, beat Virginia, who the heck did they beat? They beat Virginia Tech last week.
They're in the championship game on Saturday, against Clemson. Good luck.
Then you lose to Tech. You lose to Georgia Tech, who lost to Citadel. I watched that game. That was a whale of a ball game, by the way. And then they beat Georgia Tech and Citadel.
Yeah, Georgia Tech didn't have a very good year this year. They were
horrible. No, they didn't. They were bad. But then they beat Miami.
Yeah.
Then they win 3 in a row, and it just scrolled up on me. They won 3 in a row, including wins over Pittsburgh, Florida State, and Louisville. Mm-hmm. But then they lose back-to-back games to FIU and Duke.
Yeah, they lost to Duke. Really? That's right, last Saturday. Yep.
Weird season. This was a really weird season.
And they are in a bowl game because they won 6 games, so they will be going to a bowl game. I don't know where they're going to go. I'm not sure where the ACC falls as far as bowls go. I'm not sure which bowl games are just entitled to them. A lot of people are predicting that the Gators will be here in the Outback Bowl. That'll be pretty cool on New Year's Day.
Try to go to that?
Well, I'm hoping maybe somebody will give me a credential for that. That would be great to go to the game for free. But yeah, if the Gators come, I might try to go because I went to when my dad was still married to my mother. I went with him to see them play Michigan, and that was the Ron Zook era in Florida, where we got hammered by Michigan that afternoon. That
was a good day.
I sat behind a Michigan couple, an older couple that, he kind of schooled me on Michigan football the entire time I was there. So, I got
that was a good day.
So, we got you back last year, so that's it.
That was a less good day.
Yeah, revenge is best served cold, as they say. Revenge is best served cold. So yeah.
It was an air conditioned, so it's like 72.
Yeah. See, at least you beat us on when we played outside. We had an indoor game last year. Yeah, indoor game last year. So.
That was a
Yeah.
fun.
All right, bud. I'm
I'd
gonna
like